Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope everyone is well. There's a lot we have to talk about, but the first thing that I wanted to bring up is this new show, The Bear. Little misleading name because bear has taken on a new definition. Have you heard of this?
Does it have something to do with, like, big, burly gay men?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly
I was
that.
just stab in the dark.
Yeah, really? That's a good guess. No, The Bear. It's not about big, burly gay men. And, I mean, what a shame, if we're being honest. Very misleading name. And, I mean, you'd think that there'd be a show like that now called The Bear. You know, like just considering the climate of how everything is made. There has to be a big contingent of burly, hairy gay men that are like, where's our representation? How come we don't have a show?
Drinking Bud Lights. And
Yeah, and wearing cowboy hats. Try that in a small town. No, it's... and now this show, I don't know why it's called The Bear. Maybe you can tell me because you watch it.
it's like the main character's nickname.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And the main character, I understand, he's like a fine dining chef.
It's kind of a double entendre, the name, I think, personally.
Why is that?
Like, it's his nickname, and it's also, like, it has a lot to do with, like, the relationships between him and so his brother dies and leaves him the restaurant.
Right.
So I feel like it's kind of like a metaphor, the name, like bear as in bear, and these, like,
Gotcha.
this new burden that's a shitty restaurant in Chicago.
Right,
and
right.
also it's his nickname.
He has to bear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to bear working. Because he comes from like a fine dining background, right? And now he has to work with black people in the inner city, and it's bad. He doesn't want to do that. But he figures out a way, and now everyone loves each other.
He's taking over his brother's restaurant, which
Right.
wasn't, fine dining, but
It's like a sandwich shop.
yeah, it's just a little hole in the wall in Chicago, and it has, a rowdy clientele and untrained chefs, and
Now, his brother killed himself, right? Is that what
Yeah.
it is?
Yeah.
Suicide. Yeah. Yeah, that's very restaurant service industry. Like, that sounds about right when you, consider. And, I mean, did he want to drag his brother to do the same? Like, he just is like, here's a burden to bear, right? Like, that's... I don't know. He's like dragging him into the same.
there's a lot that goes into, like,
Right.
most of the show is, like, about, like, him having to, like,
Adapt.
and figure out why it even is that his brother left him the restaurant. And
Right. I'm sure they do a good job. I mean, you say you like the show. People can endlessly make fun of me because I like Ted Lasso. So
I like Ted Lasso also.
yeah. Okay. Good. We're in the same boat with that.
I don't think it's, like, the funniest thing I've ever seen, but it's a good show.
Yeah, I agreed. I thought the characters developed well. The whole thing. I thought it was good. It was really gay. Like, especially the last season when the one kid, like half the season was dedicated to the one kid coming out. Is he gonna come out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, is he ever gonna come out?
Yeah, and then of course everyone loves him for it. Yay.
And they're like, so what?
Yeah, exactly. We're boys. It's all right if you're gay. Be gay. It's this is a gay show. But that show got huge. They got to go to the White House. I don't know if they're going to bring the bear to the White House.
Probably not.
Probably not, right?
No.
But
Biden would look at them like, who's the bear?
To be fair, he probably said the same thing. He's like, Ted, who? Who's Ted? What? But the reason why I bring it up at all is because it's funny to me that people want to watch a show about working in a restaurant. I know the story's good. Like, that's why people are watching it, and it just happens to take place in a restaurant. But it's just funny, as someone who's worked in restaurants, anytime I see a genre or a movie or a piece of media in that vein, I always think it's hilarious. I mean, waiting, obviously, is meant to be funny. But there's been a bunch of movies. What was that movie with Jon Favreau? Is that The Chef?
The Chef.
The Chef.
Also really like that.
Yeah, right. Of course. The one with Bradley Cooper's good, Burnt or
Burnt.
whatever it is. Yeah.
That's like takes a weird turns though. I feel like that one.
Yeah. Right. He gets his shit sabotaged
Yeah.
by the one guy.
It's because he's an asshole the whole movie.
Right. And I guess he fucked with that guy earlier on. But it's funny what we'll choose to like romanticize, because if you ever work, I've never worked I've worked in a nice kitchen. This one time I worked for an English chef. It was crazy. He was like a real prick, like Gordon Ramsay. He was bald, and I worked one shift and it was terrible. It was like real high class brunch. And apparently the show does a good job of depicting real life
Yeah, like the
situations.
back of the house stuff. Well, because I've only worked at a pizzeria, but
Okay.
similar vibe. Because you have to like kind of know how a kitchen operates to.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: if nobody's on drugs, show's already lost. I mean, if nobody if everyone in the restaurant is sober, then that's already scratch, not real. If there's no sexual harassment going on, then that's another one that needs to get included. There needs to be drinking after the shift, always. That has to be a thing. Everyone always has to get shit. Even though everyone gets out late and some of them have to be back in the morning, they have to make sure to drink because everyone is going out to drink. That's important. You need the bartender to come in after their fourth cigarette break, and they have to come in and complain about how they're going to walk out and how the food's taking too long. That's important. You need that. Well, these are all these things, right, that they don't include in a lot of these movies. It's really like romanticizing and turning the head chef, into a rock star. I feel like that's the angle that they take in all these, except for Waiting, which was a comedy movie, very funny. Fan of that. But if you want like real, I guess nobody watches a movie for a real thing. It's more of like a trip, even though this is a show.
What was that? Oh, The Menu. Did you see that one?
Is that the one about he does like crazy shit? Like it's a chef. It's like a deranged kind of.
He's like on a deserted island, and he is like supposed to be the best chef in the entire world, and it's kind of it's what's his name from SNL. He did that Don't Look Up movie. It's that same guy, Ryan McKay. No, is that his name?
I'm not sure. Don't Look Up was the one about climate change, right?
Yeah. It's a similar like satirical feel to it.
The Menu.
Adam McKay, yeah.
Adam McKay. All right, and this is about he's on an island and he has to just.
So he invites like these people for like the fine dining experience, but the movie itself is kind of trolling that, like, because it's just so over the top as far as like the dining experience.
Yes. Yeah. All right, I can imagine that because you ever like.
I thought it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
It wasn't good.
But I was watching with my brother and sister, and they were hysterically laughing at it.
Like ironically, like it wasn't supposed to be funny. Or was it supposed to be funny?
I think people do think it's funny.
Okay.
What genre is it listed as? Let's look. Comedy horror.
Okay. All right. So it's supposed to be funny. Will Ferrell's in it?
I think he's a producer.
Oh, okay. Produced. Okay.
Produced
Got
by,
you. Wow. All right.
I don't know. I feel like I threw you off course, but
No. Because I feel like I remember hearing about this, and it's about an actual chef in Switzerland who owns he owned this crazy restaurant. I forget what it's called, but they're closing down now. They're finishing out their wait list. But they have these crazy, like, super high expectations. The chef is like a dictator. Like, he watches over it, which is a weird thing in general.
yeah.
Like, we've really taken food and put it on. Obviously, you need food to live. It should be on a high pedestal naturally. But we have so much of an abundance of all ingredients that we can just. This is a dust made from a fucking fennel seed that we collected over the course of 3 months, and then we fermented them, and then we powdered them down, and then now here's a goo that we made. Like, and they're these super prestigious experiences that it sounds like this is what the movie's making fun of.
Yep.
So yeah, I just think, like I said, that's so rare in terms of working in a restaurant, to be working in one of those, first of all. Second of all, if you do work in one of those places, you're going to make a lot of money on either side, back of house, front of house. But that is, like, horrific. Like, they work awful. They may have the nicest conditions, the nicest food, the nicest everything, but
It's like 70-hour work weeks. Your life is run by a maniac.
yeah, exactly. And, like, what makes your skill set of being a world-renowned chef? Again, world-renowned, people know you, but why are you such a prick? Like, I don't understand. Why does that go in to what it is you're doing? Maybe because it's so hard to run a kitchen.
Is it though? Is it though?
Anyone can run a fucking... That's the other thing about this, right? There's no movies about the front of the house, because anyone can work in the back of the house, but even more people can work in the front of the house. Like,
It's like a hostess.
a host, a server.
Maybe I'll write a movie about a hostess.
But yeah, they haven't done that. A contingent of hostesses, transgender hostesses, where
A lot of just like hiding your texting behind the podium.
flirting with the bartender that's like 38. But the hosts are usually the youngest ones. The hosts and the bussers are usually young. But it's worse because it's young girls. When the host, yeah, it's usually young girls. Yeah, that'd be a good movie. And you ever seen that movie with Keanu Reeves with the two girls knock on his door in the rain?
Knock, knock.
And he fucks them both?
They kind of rape him, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Right. That's a good point. But I think the movie about the hostesses could take a similar turn.
Similar vibe to it.
Yeah, like they corner the boss. And he's like 43, but he's got a family. And they corner him in his office. And he's got to bang them. He's got to bang all of them, and they're like...
And they film it.
They
try
film
and blackmail him for all $1,800 of his life savings.
That's right. That's a realistic movie about working in the... That's a show that could be made. No, I'm sure it's good. I'll probably maybe... Forget everything I said. I'm going to watch it.
The Bear?
The Bear.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to watch The Bear, goddammit.
Maybe the menu after.
It really is a shame, though, because they took the name, and it has nothing to do with bears. Not animals, and not big, burly gay guys. It's a shame. Cocaine Bear.
I wonder if any big, burly gay guys put it on thinking it would be that and then stuck around. So just by having that name, you get that demographic.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Right. They're like, there's going to be a bunch of people like me. And then it's not at all. And you're like, all right.
They're on the couch, like shirtless, oiled up,
Yeah.
ready to...
I should have read the fucking synopsis before I watched this show. Anyway, I watched Oppenheimer. Very fun. I got to see it in 70 millimeter, which was dope. Very good. That's what you're supposed to do. If you tell me that I'm going to watch a movie about the technology that's been used that could probably destroy the world and may, I want to watch that on as big a screen as I can, because I know there's going to be some explosions. There's going to be at least 2 explosions.
Yeah, you have to do the 70 mil if possible.
Yeah, it was good, but we were off to the side, like I was telling you, and I was under the impression that this was like a luxury theater.
It was a regular.
It was a regular theater. Yeah, and I was like,
it's a pretty old theater, Lincoln Square.
Is it really?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. I'll definitely go back to watch something. They're making a Wall Street Bets movie. That shit looked dope. I want to see that. I always like that's a good story for the people. The people won, sort of. I mean, the guy. I think the guy ended up getting in some trouble. But anyway, Oppenheimer. It was good. It was a pretty good depiction of what can happen if you reach a certain level of notoriety in America, because now here's another thing that happened with the movie, right? I went in thinking like, all right, this is going to be interesting. What fueled a guy to create something like this? And in my mind, I was like, this guy's just a fucking murderous animal. Like, he just wants to kill the fuck out of everybody. And they do a good job. And I mean, he ends up doing that, minus the murderous animal part. He ends up killing people inadvertently, as we've heard. But they do a good job of making you feel good about him. You're like, this guy.
You're rooting for him?
You kind of root for him. Yeah, you're like, especially when you see the turn it takes. I mean, it's all historical. Like, it's not like I'm spoiling anything, but it's at the beginning, he's this genius who has all these ideas that everyone's like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make whatever. And then it starts to get traction in the U.S., and he's a part of a program at Berkeley. And then it gets bigger and bigger, and then he gets commissioned to create a weapon, a fucking bomb. And he looked at it as a way to test all the theories that he's had about physics and quantum physics and all this shit. And that alone, you probably should have put a lid on that. When you tell the guy that's been thinking about crazy shit, hey, here's an outlet to test that crazy shit. And if it works, then maybe it'll, completely change the world. Which, what was the part that was... Okay, so they were sitting around during the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos. They were sitting around, and one guy was like, I did these calculations, and I got to this. And before I say this next part, I don't know. You can't even grasp how these guys can... It's almost like they think of something. It's like, what if a star exploded? Well, mathematically, that makes sense. But, like, the math adds up to star explosion. Like, I don't understand. Like, so these guys just do these crazy things, and this guy's like, well, this bomb could set off a chain reaction that could never stop and hit the atmosphere and explode the entire planet. There's a chance of it. It's not high, but there's a chance of that happening. The math adds up. And I'm like, what fucking math?
You're just like, there's no bear in the bear.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what what dark magic do you have to learn to do a math problem? Be like, well, I mean, the world's going to explode. and they went and they still did it. Obviously, they had to test it. So they went and did it, knowing that there's a chance that it could, blow up the whole fucking world. And it did.
Well, I'm glad they at least did the equations.
Yeah, right. At least they didn't go into this uninformed, right? They weren't just...
Cut no corners.
They weren't just throwing atoms at each other, trying to make them explode here. They weren't funded. I forgot what it said. It was a lot of money, and it was obviously in the 40s. It was like $2 billion over a few...
For the Manhattan Project?
Yeah.
I can probably look it up.
Yeah, over a few years. Imagine what that money could have done. Maybe, what if we just gave that money to the Japanese people? We're like, hey, stop fucking around. Here's $2 billion.
They probably would have nuked us.
Yeah, right. They just invested. They're like, what?
In December 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt approved $500 million for the Manhattan Engineered District and the official start of the Manhattan Project. The project advanced at breakneck speed with nuclear facilities built at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Hanford, Washington, and the main assembly plant at Los Alamos, New Mexico.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, this guy, He's definitely a mad scientist.
It ended up tallying up to $2 billion, though.
Yeah, see? $2 billion. At the end of it, it was $2 billion.
Had been spent on research.
And the whole thing was like, we can't let the Germans get it. That was the whole motivation behind it. We can't let the Germans get it. We are the responsible ones. We have to learn. And Oppenheimer was the one who was saying that at the beginning. But the whole controversy is before he got real big, before he was the big bad rock star scientist that was going to save the world, he was associated. He was banging a chick who was a communist. And there was nothing worse in America in that time than to be labeled a communist in any sense. And he also just created 2 weapons that, leveled 2 cities and whatever. Essentially,
what were the names of the bombs again?
Fat Man and Little Boy.
Fat Man and Little Boy. Yeah, I remember that.
How insensitive to call Fat Man Fat Man.
Why even name them?
Yeah, right? I know, let's name them. It's like the hurricanes, though. They name the hurricanes. Why do that?
I think because there's so many of them, you keep track. But
I know, you could have just said Bomb 1, Bomb 2.
Yeah. Like, hurricanes, there's dozens of every year. Bombs, nuclear bombs, they only made a couple.
Yeah, well, we have a lot now. We definitely don't name them anymore. They probably ran out of names.
Maybe they still do. I don't know.
Like hurricanes.
We dropped Leroy on Russia.
Damn. Yeah, so after the bomb, he was a villain. Before the bomb, he was the king. Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes. That's how it goes here, especially if you're making weapons. I mean, you'll get a lot. If you need money, all you need to do is say, hey, I got an idea for a crazy fucking weapon that will level a place as big as the United States. And they're going to say, all right, bang, bang. And it's not like they knew anything of what he was saying in terms of the mechanics. He was just like, I got this wild idea that no one else kind of does. Like, the Germans are because of Heidenberg. Heidenberg was the other, and they had a whole tragedy. But he was the other one in Germany who was even thinking about quantum mechanics. And fucking... Yeah, so he broke the door down. He broke the door down. He was a groundbreaker. He broke the glass ceiling. And, yeah, I think that's good. But after all that, then it was the Cold War, and he was a communist. He was labeled a communist from years and years ago. And you really see how fragile the ideologies are at the time. Because the same thing that made him the best then turned him into it's a sad story. You feel for Mr. Oppenheimer. Old Bobby. Yeah, they called him Oppie in the movie. I thought
Bobby
that was
Ops.
funny. Yeah, Bobby Ops.
If he was a hip-hop artist today.
Yeah, right? He kind of is. He's DJ Oppie. We're going to... I am death. What is it? I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
That was his famous quote after he launched him, right?
Well, that was... I mean, he read that in a book. That was a quote from
it was like
Vishnu.
Sun Tzu?
No, Vishnu, the god of death or something in Hindu, whatever. In the movie, I mean... This was this woman. That woman, the communist woman. He was banging her, and she grabbed a book off the shelf, and she's like, "You can read this," and he's like, "Yeah," and she got on top of him and made him read it out loud. This was before any bombs, anything, and as he read it, she fucking like slipped his dick in her, and he was like, it was a crazy like demon like moment. So be on the lookout for that part. That part's important. Yeah, I think I'd create a bomb after a lady did something like that to me. I think I would, that's what would happen next. Anyway, it was a good movie. I thought it was good. I think Christopher Nolan, obviously, knocked it out of the park. His movies are pretty... That one was very. There's a lot of things that go on in his scenes. I forgot that he did The Dark Knight. It just slipped my mind.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. He did
Interstellar.
Yeah. What was the other one? Inception.
Memento. If you ever seen Memento.
Haven't seen that one. No. But I know that this movie was a lot. There were some scenes. It was a little tough to follow. It was long, 3 hours. We don't want that. Where's TikTok? I want to go on TikTok. 3 hours, but it was uncomfortable, definitely. Like, I was like, people behind me. There were a bunch of girls that looked like they should have been in the Barbie movie, kicking the fuck out of my seat. But I had a good time, nonetheless. The movie was good. I was a fan. Go out and watch it. Go out and watch a beautiful story about the guy that created the technology to blow us all up and finish us off, and feel bad for him. That's the most important part. You got to feel bad for him. In other news, which one do we want to do next? Oh, we should talk about Jason Aldean. Fuck it. Let's talk about Jason Aldean. Jason Aldean, that's his name, right? I haven't heard of this guy ever.
I've heard the name. I don't know what he sings.
Yeah, right.
Apparently some racist shit.
Yeah, some real down home country shit. I mean, if you like country music, you gotta be on par with the racist lingo a little bit. You know, it's gotta be. He didn't say anything, but we'll go through the lyrics in a minute. But this is I like this story. Simply because it's been like a battlefield. It's been like a place where everyone can disagree on, which is something we need, right? We need a nice little platform for everyone to be upset about. So he's got a song called Try That in a Small Town, and now it's at number 2 on the Billboard's All Genre Hot 100 chart. Why it matters. The backlash has pushed it to the top of the charts. The driving news. The song depicts an exaggerated urban. That's a touchy word for a guy like Jason Aldean in the field of music that he's in. Urban-rural divide in which cities are dominated by unrest that isn't tolerated in small towns. Some critics have said the song and its video promote gun violence and lynching. Goodness gracious. You couldn't ask for a better gift. That part's not important. So they use one of his lyrics. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. The video features a performance in front of Tennessee's Maury County Courthouse, which has the site of a 1946 race riot and a 1927 lynching. Not the best place for a performance in general.
That rules out the entire state of Tennessee, though, if you're looking for a place without any lynchings or race riots.
That's fair. That is fair. Maybe you could go to a big open, I was going to say field
that had lynchings in it?
That's right.
And burnt crosses?
Sure. Fuck. I'm trying to think of a place that wouldn't have trees or anything like that. Maybe you could stand in the water where there was probably drownings.
Where they tied witches to bricks and
threw bricks at them. They did both. So the song's absolutely blown up. He says there's not a single lyric that references race or points to it. The people have spoken. You guys have spoken very, very loud this week. That's what he said. You guys have spoken. You said, hey, we don't care. We don't care where he performs. It doesn't matter because it's just background. Now, I want to see the lyrics because I heard the beginning of the song just so I could see the video and where they are. And it does look a little, it's the video. We're not going to show it because of YouTube and whatever, but it is a little strange that they decided to pick a place like that. I guess they wanted to go for the Southern appeal. I mean, he's got to know his audience, right? So, okay, sucker punch. This is the first verse. Sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk. Carjack an old lady at a red light. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag, and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough? Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Round here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it
Shit
won't
slaps.
take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Round here, we take care of our own. Jason, I would argue that you you probably run at the sight of anybody because of how famous you are. You got to hide yourself. I can't imagine a guy like Jason Aldean going and doing anything philanthropic, especially not in his community. What's his community? Other rich people? Like, he's making it sound like he lives in some small farmhouse when he's a nationally touring with the number 2 song. Like, let's see if we can find his house, because I was
gonna search net worth.
Net worth, yeah. We take care of our own. What does that mean?
Who's this we?
90 million. Yeah. 90 million. We take care. I don't know. It's obviously he's playing to his audience. He knows who's listening. He knows who's listening. He knows who does all those things in that first verse, and he knows that the people that are listening are going to go ahead. He kept it ambiguous for a reason. He didn't say who, but he knows that his audience knows. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. You know who hangs out in the city. You don't want to go to the city. Let's see his house. Leave forever home. Where do they go?
Moving out of his Tennessee mansion.
Oh, he has to now. He's moving out of his mansion. That's going to be to take care of his own. He's going to go to the soup kitchen. He's going to go to the soup kitchen instead.
$7 million, 4,000 square foot.
Yes. How many people has he taken care of in there?
Oh, no, 8,900 square feet, sorry.
What'd you say before? Less?
Yeah, that was their 2017 house.
Oh, okay.
Their 2019 house.
Much different. Much bigger. Wow, they went from 4,000 to 8,900. They're really taking care
of their own.
Of their own, definitely, and of that small town. It's a funny sentiment growing up in a small town. They're definitely going for the down south, because I grew up in a small town, and I'll tell you, nobody is helping. Nobody's helping. People still carjack old ladies at red lights. There's a such thing as small towns. Not everything's good in a small town. Sometimes people get molested in a small town, and it's by a guy that nobody would ever suspect. This isn't...
You trying to tell us something?
This, I was just going to say, this isn't a,
We can talk about it.
It could be a guy in the town that everyone knows. He's a little slow. Every small town's got one of these. He's slow. He hangs out at the high school a little bit too often. What about that, Jason Aldean? Why don't you talk about that guy who's still taking pictures with 10th graders after the football game on Fridays, huh? What about him? That's part of a small town. What about all the old poor people that hang out at liquor stores causing a ruckus, bothering people, asking people for money and panhandling? That happens in a small town too. I think his problem, I think he should change the song to Try That in a White Town. A white town in Tennessee, because he's talking about Tennessee. Their small towns much different. I guess different than where I came from, but it can't be that much different. What's after this next chorus? I feel like we should just keep. What's the bridge here? Scroll down a little bit. Full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. And then he sings the chorus again. Well,
Shit slaps.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna just those lyrics. I could imagine. Again, I listened to the beginning of the song, and the video is a little strange. It's they are in front of a courthouse that looks like at one point was owned by a very, very wealthy Southern businessman.
From Candyland.
Yeah, like a white cake eating type of man. You watch Django, right?
Yeah.
White cake. Can I give you some white cake? But anyway, it looked very much like that, and seemed to have a nefarious history. And then in between them playing they're there playing their instruments with lights and shit. There's like flashes of riots and these liberal softies screaming at police officers and stomping on flags. It's like a I don't know. It's like a virtue. It's virtue signaling on the other side. Definitely. Like if you pulled up a Fox News article about it, they'd be like, "This is fire. This guy's the best."
It's for the Bud Light drinkers.
Yeah. No, it's
anti-Bud Light.
It's anti-Bud Light. It's definitely the opposite. Definitely the
It's
opposite.
PBR.
PBR. That's a good call. Coors. We drink Coors. Way less gay.
It's cold as the Rockies.
If you drink light beer, it doesn't matter what the brand is. You're fucking... Dylan Mulvaney's still more of a man than you if you drink any light beer. You got to drink liquor. Liquor's the way to go, I think.
I'm a beer guy. I like IPAs though.
Okay. All right. Nice. So you can get 2 or 3 of those and get sloshed.
But if I'm at like a baseball game, I'll go with like a Miller Lite, a tall boy.
Right.
It's just, that and a hot dog. It's American.
It makes sense.
American,
right.
man.
It's American. That, a hot dog, and atomic bombs.
Yes.
That's
yes.
those things all work together. And Jason Aldean.
Death, destruction, and beer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine the pieces of media being used about, like, with that song. Like, imagine the TikToks, like the cringy TikToks of, like, some guy standing on his porch with a shotgun. And that song's just, try that in a small town. Like, I could totally imagine that. There's like a store owner and his family, and they're all strapped up. And they got 3 teeth between the 6 of them. And they're standing outside their store. They're like, try that in a fucking small town. And China's just watching all this like, oh, we're going to win. We're going to win. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely a fun song. Don't listen to it around the wrong people. You got to read the room. That's not a song you put on when you're entertaining groups of people. It's got to be. It's very, very specific. Now, next, I want to talk about something that's pressing. Apparently, a pressing issue in the news regarding our president's dog. I want to play this video because this is at a press hearing. And this guy with a suit on, who, I don't know, I'm assuming is part of the press, wants to, he's asking about the president's dog, which apparently is getting a little rambunctious. He wants to bite people. He's been hanging out with Hunter a little too much. Let's hear, because this question, it's just funny that I'm seeing something that's supposed to be official and revered and political and all this stuff. They're supposed to be leading us. This is like a White House press thing. And this is what they're talking about.
Commander, I actually had some experience with presidential dogs leading me, so I thought that I'd ask this question.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
She got him.
Sorry, that was too easy.
No, I'll tell you, it was George W. Bush's dog.
Oh.
George W. Bush's
Hold on, pause it.
I'm sorry.
George W. Bush's dog bit him because when he walked in, he said, I don't think we should go to Iraq. And then the dog was like, nah. All right. Go ahead.
So I think Bronny was getting used to the idea of leaving the White House, and this was disappointing that he would be leaving soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to ask
That's
you
a
about
real psychological understanding of a dog there, my friend.
She's clowning this guy.
So under D.C. Municipal rules, after a dog
He gave her a layup.
individual,
Yeah,
the dog
right.
must be quarantined for 10 days. Do you know if Commander was quarantined for?
I would have to refer you to USSS. I have to
Yeah.
refer you to Secret Service. You know, my team and I
Okay,
did
pause
a bet
this.
to see how much.
Imagine working for the Secret Service and the press secretary calls you and is like, we got a question about whether or not the dog, our fucking president's dog bit somebody. Has it been quarantined? That's the question that's being asked at this, is that the dog that bit somebody is supposed to be quarantined for for 10 days, I guess. And the Secret
That would make him more likely to bite someone again.
Sure. Now he's locked away. I would think, as a Secret Service agent, that's like nothing. You probably shouldn't. Why is that their problem? You'd think that the hierarchy is so deep, in that system that the dog would have his own assistant, that that commander wouldn't be in a situation where he has to bite anybody. And now this is a case of being around the wrong people, and I think it's Hunter. Hunter's been fucking with Commander, and now he's running amok, and they have to talk about it at the fucking press hearings. This is important. I mean, how is President Biden going to sleep and act when he knows that his dog is out there being a lunatic? And this is the first time I've heard of this, but it seems like, according to this guy, there's these dogs. I didn't even know there was a presidential dog. Like, that's a thing. I know that the president has a dog. I didn't know that was like a running. They never talked about Trump's dog.
I think they did, yeah.
Did they?
They compared it to like I've seen side by side photos of like Obama like loving his dog and
Yeah.
Trump like
Just
kind
doesn't
of
give a
like
fuck.
distancing himself, like barely petting his dog.
Yeah, because it's definitely not his.
People like psychoanalyze everything the president does, so
Right. Yeah, of course. But I would doubt the dog's his. Like, they kind of just. I feel like once the president's elected, the dog is. They just throw a dog in there too, just to add to the whole thing, the whole mystique. I don't know. I think that's bothersome. That bothers me. That there's a. I don't know. That there's any time at all dedicated to speaking about the dog. I saw something the other day, or I spoke to a coworker the other day that said she just went to it was like a restaurant for dogs, like a legitimate. And I know you love dogs, so I might be alone in this argument.
I wouldn't take a dog to a restaurant.
Okay, all right, that's all we needed because this place, dude, she was showing me
I draw
pictures.
the line like a little pup cup type thing.
Yeah, and that's it. That's where it
Yeah.
ends. That's fair. This was like a Chipotle for a dog. It was insane, dude. Like, you bought meals for your dog.
So the dog goes down the line and says more chicken, more
Yeah,
rice.
precisely. And then they charge him extra for guac. I mean, again, we talked about the dog that got the diploma that one time at Seton Hall. Like, there really is a weird infatuation that we have with those animals. We've already fucked them out of their own species. Right? Like, when you think of, like, a wolf or a coyote, that's the same thing as your dog. It's just a fucking wild version of it.
Yeah, they came from wolves.
Yeah, totally. And obviously they hold great value to us. But to have a restaurant, that's a little bit much. I mean, she was showing me it looked like a fucking legitimate place. Like, it was stainless steel appliances in the back, and I mean, imagine being a chef. We've been talking about chefs, Imagine being a chef and that's your thing. Like, I make food for dogs. You should, after you do that, you should go home and hang yourself. Maybe you could, because it's not like bullshit food.
It's like the easiest clientele to please, though.
Oh my God, I know. You're not gonna. The dog's gonna go on Dog Yelp.
Yeah, they lick their own ass.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. And the food is like actual food. I'm not saying you shouldn't give your dog actual food. Like if I had a dog, I'd want it to eat good stuff. But it was like you could. There's probably a person in the area that could use this. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. A lot of people care more about a dog than a person. People suck. Dogs aren't as bad, right? Dogs, they're pretty honest. But even still, I wouldn't bring an honest person. I wouldn't have a friend. Even if they were honest, I wouldn't bring them to a nice place. Not as nice as this place. How did we even get on this? What were we talking about? Oh, the White House dog.
White House dog, yeah.
Yeah. It's that's just another example of because there's probably other shit that guy could have asked about. How did he even know that? How did he even know that? Unless he was the one who got bit, like he just gets bit by all the dogs.
Yeah, I don't really even know like how these, reporters even go about any of it. Really, like, do they just report to that one room and they all just collate and spread rumors and then ask questions?
Yeah, probably right. Who even knows? Maybe this dog is. He's planning the new best weapon. And they're trying to blackmail him. They're trying to denounce him because nobody's ready to let go of Oppenheimer. Anyway, stupid. I think it's dumb, the amount of stock that they put into a story about a dog. And why even have the dog? It's just like another stupid symbol. Kind of like the flag. Try that in a small town. Anyway, next, we got one more story about a chef that's kind of been... I think this episode will be called Yes, Chef. I think that's good. That's nice, huh? That works. Yes, Chef. Former President Mr. Barack Obama had a chef, a personal chef, who drowned at Martha's Vineyard. I mean, Martha's Vineyard, especially around this time, is absolutely beautiful. You couldn't ask for a better place to drown. If I'm being honest, it's beautiful. Summer in New England, you go to Martha's Vineyard, you feel like a Kennedy. That's why he probably got assassinated. No, I doubt that. Why would they? I mean, unless under his chef hat, he has tons and tons of magical potions that were given to him.
He knew too much.
Yeah, maybe he knew too much. And they disguised one of the Clintons as a person dropping off his order for the week. He had ordered fucking, 10 pounds of chicken breast. And Hillary came out and clapped his ass. I don't know. Drown him. A former White House chef who was working for the Obama family was found dead Monday in a pond on the south shore of Martha's Vineyard, according to Massachusetts police. Tafari Campbell, 45, was employed by former President Barack Obama and was visiting Martha's Vineyard at the time of the passing, according to a Monday news release. Campbell was reported missing early Sunday evening, then going paddleboarding. He went into the water, appeared to briefly struggle to stay on the surface, and then submerge and did not resurface. An earlier state police news release said. How did he know that? How did the police officer know that? It seems like he could have done something. He just described how it happened.
The next line tells you.
Oh. Another paddleboarder on the pond with him at the time witnessed him and go into the water. Ah, okay. Gotcha. You see? Thank God you're here to keep me in check.
I didn't know what you were about to say, but I just...
Yeah, right. Massachusetts environmental police officers recovered Campbell's body shortly before 10 a.m. Monday from Edgartown, Great Pond. Yeah, obviously bad, right? Not a good thing. It does make you think. Maybe he did know something. Maybe he knew something. Maybe he had a recipe that nobody else was supposed to have. There was a recipe in the... Kind of like Trump with the classified files that he took home. It might have just been that he took the apple pie recipe, the American apple pie recipe. He stole it from the White House cookbook, and they needed that back. They needed it back, so they fucking drowned him. Martha's Vineyard. I know they like to hang out at Martha's Vineyard, too, the Obamas. They like to hang out. Martha's Vineyard is a breeding ground for very wealthy people to do some very sinister things. I don't know how much money this gentleman had. I'm sure it was good, being a sous chef at the White House for a long time. But I can, he was able to go to Martha's Vineyard. He was vacationing. He was visiting Martha's Vineyard. He's got to be somewhat well off. And it's just another position of power. Now, is he the bear? I don't think so. Is he...
Definitely not Michael Phelps.
That's right. He's not that either. Dying in a pond. How do you drown in a pond, bro?
Pond sharks.
Pond sharks, yeah. Why are you... God damn it. Why are you paddleboarding when you're in the middle of the fucking... And you can't... Why do anything that if it goes wrong, you can't fix it? That's a pretty blanket statement, but I'm just thinking... I know. I'm just thinking, like, if you can't swim, don't go in below your knees. Like, why are you paddleboarding? But that's also the same thing, like,
Said it was only 8 feet of water, too, though.
So you deserve it, buddy.
Like you could have just kicked off the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Tarif, you deserve it. You shoulda kept cooking, whatever your deal was. Last thing we should probably talk about before we wrap this battle area up is, LeBron's son, crazy. What happened to him? He went down with a heart attack. He's a young kid, so it's kind of a it's bad, right? You don't want to see a young athlete, especially the son of the athlete of the last 20 years or something. You don't want to see something like that happen. But again, we're using it to pick sides because they're already like this story. When did this happen? Monday or today?
Yesterday.
Okay, so on Monday, the story breaks. It's Tuesday as we're recording this, talking right now. There's already people suggesting that it was the vaccine. It was the mRNA vaccines. The ink is still wet on the newspapers, and it's already about vaccines. Will people let up? Will people let up on the vaccine talk? It has been, the biggest pandemic in the last 100 years has already passed. Can we shut up about it? We've already all gotten it. We've all gotten it. If we're all going to take heart attacks in so many years, it's already going to happen. Okay? It's just people wanting to be right. It's people like, hey, look at this. We're going to kind of draw an argument from this that maybe this kid who at one point had to get stabbed in the arm and take a vaccine, maybe that's what did it. What about all the other... I know it's happening to other people as well, but why... It's just funny. I just think it's funny that LeBron James's son is getting more. He just took a heart attack and is 18 years old, and it's the only reason people are talking about it, or one of the only reasons people are talking about it, is because of a vaccine. So he's in college.
Yes, so he hasn't even started. he hasn't played a college game yet. This was his summer camp. He's a freshman.
How many kids does he have? I thought he had one that was.
He has 2 kids. He might have 3.
Isn't there one that's like close? Like he wants to play with his son in the
It's
NBA?
him, yeah,
oh,
it's
it's him.
Bronny.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah, he's at USC, so he
Yeah.
could be in the league next year if it goes well.
Right. Well, let's hope the NBA's got some good life insurance or health insurance. I'm sure LeBron James has it all covered. People in that position do not die. He's going to be okay. It is crazy, though, having a heart attack that young, especially being an athlete. I thought
Cardiac arrest is different, though, right?
I don't know. I thought it was the same.
I think a heart attack is like
Pulmonary embolism. It might be that.
yeah, it's something like blocking the flow to the heart. Where
Gotcha.
Cardiac arrest could be like you get struck by lightning and have cardiac arrest.
Is this him at a press conference talking about it? Imagine.
Well, he'd have to play until he's 40, 41 to do that. When you first said it, did you think that was realistic? Did you think like, wow, it's this is how long it's going to be, and now to see him commit to college, is it coming into focus?
I don't think this has to do with the.
Gotcha. It was what we
Heart.
were talking about,
Yeah.
probably. Huh. Well, if his son was any good, he'd already be there. No. I think, it's I think this generation, we're seeing more and more young people getting old people diseases. I saw something on the news about people our age getting like fucking rectal cancer and like men getting prostate cancer and shit. And it can start as early as like your mid to late 20s. But at the same time, people are living longer, and people are like athletes are able to go for a longer time. Like they're able to, like I thought science and medicine was supposed to fix that part. What's going on? Why?
Not if you get vaccinated, man.
Yeah. If you get stuck, if you put that needle in your arm,
If you drink Bud Light and you take a vaccine,
Yeah.
you're gonna die.
try to get vaccinated in a small town. That won't happen. Try to have a heart attack. Try to go into cardiac arrest at 18 in a small town. That won't happen because we grow our own food. We know that might have something to do with it, right? Like how bad all the things we eat and consume are.
Maybe. Could be
Yeah.
the vaccine.
Could be the vaccine. I guess we
It's
can't.
very rushed.
That's true.
Or
It is
COVID
true.
itself, too.
Maybe it was
If you have COVID, some people are fucked up from just getting COVID.
right. And, so many years later, you could have a heart attack. It's true. I mean, it could be the vaccine. It could be maybe these guys have a point. Maybe we're just going to see all the athletes drop dead. As there's going to be more and more as time goes on. They're all going to slowly die off, and for whatever reason, we'll notice there'll be a trend, and we'll see that mRNA vaccines are actually bad for people with really good health, and their hearts explode. Either way, we I guess we hope he gets better, right? That's the right thing to say. So that hopefully he and his dad get to play in the NBA. That's all.
It's probably out for the season, though, no?
That's that's got to be right. Cardiac can't play basketball. That's like playing basketball on meth after a heart attack. I'll tell you this though, I used to work in a restaurant, and big. That's the theme of this fucking episode. I used to work at a restaurant, and this one of the chefs was he was an addict of a bunch of things, but he had a heart attack at work. And the next day, he was back working.
Yeah, sometimes people bounce back like crazy fast from stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably shouldn't have came, but
But I remember looking at him.
he's got bills to pay.
I remember looking at him sitting on a milk crate, just like holding his arm in pain, tears in his eyes, going through like most of the shift like that. And then I remember seeing him stand up when he got time to go smoke a cigarette. He's like, I'm going to go smoke. He's like, it's sick, but look how much better I'm going to feel when I come back. And he came back in and he's like, woo, let's go. It was crazy. That's the real depiction of a fucking restaurant, goddammit. If there's one thing that you got to take away from this episode, it's that. If you want to know what it's like to work in a restaurant, don't watch a show. Anyone can do it. Go do it. God damn it. I think that's a good place to end. Thank you guys for listening today and always. Do I have anything else? No, I have no dates. Yeah, that's it, motherfuckers. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.